Yeah, I mean, typical kind of day one winter meeting. So we've, I mean, obviously it's a lot of conversation, and I think come in here with some things that we want to get done, and I think overall been a productive day. But yeah, I think it's just trying to see what's out there, what we're trying to line up on, and go from there. Yeah, I think for us, target-wise and hit, we knew that I think we're pretty focused on what we wanted to do, and so ultimately every year is a little bit different. From a market standpoint, obviously some signings here today, the last few days, and usually you have that that kind of domino effect where one signing may lead to two or three other things. But I think from our standpoint, we've kind of understood this is we're looking for a bat, looking for kind of continue to add to the starting pitching, rotation depth, and I think we're pretty targeted in what we're trying to do overall.
You've got a lot of shortstops on your roster already. How would there be room for another? Is that a thing, and how could that potentially work?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think from our standpoint, try to look at each situation and each player and kind of see what that fit is. I think we've talked about adding another position player. I think the natural fit is probably a corner bat. I don't think anything's changed there really. We talked about our roster gives us some different flexibility and some different possibilities, but because we have athletic players that can play multiple spots. But I think most of the focus for us has been on probably a corner bat that complements and fits pretty well with our team right now.
What does the fact that you have 4 or 5 guys who can play different spots all around the field do for you in terms of an offseason going out and looking for a certain position, or can it be flexible, more flexible?
Yeah, I think it leads to some creative conversations in the room about where guys are going to play. I think we've tried to, as we built our roster really over the last 4 or 5 years. I think guys that can do multiple things, guys that can play both sides of the ball, and again, when you have athletes that can play different positions, it at least opens you up to different possibilities and conversations. And I think no different here this offseason, honestly.
Yeah, what do you think of the Trea Turner deal, and did you guys have conversations with Trea, and how did those go?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think probably hoping he went to the American League. We've had to see him up close here the last couple of years. He's obviously a tremendous player, and staying in the National League and going to a team that just represented the National League in the World Series. Probably hoping he was heading elsewhere, but yeah, we did. I think it was reported. We talking to him, we did have a conversation with him, and he's a unique player. So I think from that standpoint, we at least want to entertain that. Somebody that's unique, that's on the free agent market. That doesn't happen that often. And ultimately, I think him lining up and signing with another club. I think we just hope maybe that was in the other league, honestly.
Did you feel you guys were close at any point with the deal with Trea, or not?
I don't know. I mean, you never really know. I think the way we try to do it is just do our homework. We don't really focus too much on what other teams, or because you don't know what's going on in the market really ever. So I think from our standpoint, we just try to say, hey, this is the value we put on a player, and at some point in time, you look at it like, hey, this is what we'd be willing to spend on a player. Sometimes offer a contract, sometimes not. Sometimes it's just honestly getting to know and see if the fit works. And you never really know how close you are to lining up, on anything, honestly.
What position did you pitch him on playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like we talked about, I think our roster in general, there's a lot of different possibilities. I think. I think at least with I think with Trea, he's a player too himself, that he's obviously plays shortstop, but he's also shown the ability to play different spots, and I think that was part of the conversation.
How important is starting pitching at this point, having another one?
Yeah, it's always important. I think from our standpoint, it's definitely right up there. We've talked about adding a bat, but the starting pitcher is right there, either 1A, depending on the hour of the day. It's kind of like which ways which is the priority. But it's always top priority is having depth and having numbers, and we'll keep looking at adding in that area.
Do you think you have 5 now, or do you?
I think we have more than 5. I do. I think again, I think there's I think we feel like depth in the system, guys at at the AAA level that pitch this year. We anticipate them helping us this year and being ready to come in and compete. I think obviously the 4 at the big league level with Nick Martinez being the 4th. I think those guys are have spots for us going into spring training, but I think we're going to look to continue to add there and try to have some more possibilities for Ruben and for Bob. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously you had this year, you've had those top end starters. So now that DeGrom and Verlander have signed, that probably frees up kind of that next year. I think that's kind of that domino effect where a couple of these guys go off the board and maybe teams are competing and waiting for those guys to go or competing for those guys. Usually that frees up the next group of pitchers to sign, but. I think it's again, you have some top end stars, and you've got a lot of guys that have shown the ability to take the ball and make 25 plus starts, which is hard skill to have. So I think I think there's some interesting possibilities out there for sure.
Is Adrian more home to be stretched out for a starting position next year?
Yeah, we'll talk more about it. Honestly, I think we've been focused a little bit more on the trades and the free agent possibilities. So I think getting with Bob and Ruben a little bit more in the next week and trying to get some clarity to our players and our roster. But yeah, I think with Adrian, I think he's very talented. I think we feel like like in 21 before he got hurt, he was on that path to start games for us. He had a good 20 kind of in that hybrid role, and then in 21, good start to spring training and the first couple starts. I think most likely we're going to look to lengthen him out and give him the opportunity to pitch multiple innings and and develop as a starter. But I think that'll be a conversation for the the next couple of weeks.
Maybe Jay Groom.
Yeah, I think that whole group. I mean, you have Jay Groom, you have Adrian, Ryan Weathers, Pedro Avila, Reese Kinnear, guys that made starts for us at AAA. And that's going to be part of it for us is getting those guys to be more consistent, getting those guys to a spot where we can count them at the major league level. Again, you need more than just 4 starters. And we understand that, and we're looking at some outside possibilities. But it's hard to add. There's a lot of teams looking for pitching as well, and I think from our standpoint, we understand that developing some guys within the system to be able to come in and pitch for us, it's going to be a big goal between now and spring training and for next year. And honestly, we'll probably if we're able to do that, it probably will help us from a wins and loss standpoint at the big league level next year for sure. Yeah, he's in communication every day with our training staff, either in person here in San Diego, or we've given he's gone home for a little bit too in the Dominican to spend some time with his family and stay on his program. He's been very responsive to everything. He's, again, it's early in the process for him from the recovery from the shoulder and the wrist. So far, that's gone well. Talked to him the other day, yeah, I think he's excited to kind of get the next checkup, from both a wrist and shoulder standpoint, and start doing some baseball activity. But so far he's on schedule and things are going well.
So you're still expecting that activity to take place sometime in January?
That's. Yeah. I think that I think we'll know a little bit more here by the end of the month. But I think early January is what we're hoping if we get some good reports here in the next couple of weeks, and he continues on track like he is. I think then we'll start progressing more from a baseball standpoint in January.
Your mutual interest in Jurickson Profar, is there any conversation going on? Where are you with your other internal free agents like Brandon Drury and perhaps Josh Bell?
Yeah, we've had conversations on all of our guys here in the last few days. I think getting to the winter meetings, again, some guys start signing, and that kind of leads to I think everybody getting a little more realistic and kind of understanding what's out there and what's available. So we've reached out. I think you mentioned 2 or 3 of those names. We've reached out on everybody, just trying to get a sense. We have interest in bringing back a large portion of the group that was with us last year. But I think again, just trying to get a sense right now of exactly where everybody's at, and those players have the opportunity to be on the open market and talk to all 30 teams. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, we've reached out pretty much on all of our free agents. I think everybody, and to different degrees of of kind of where we're at and where they're at in the process. Just trying to go from there.
Have you talked to Jay Cronenworth or Austin Kim about what signing someone like Trea Turner might have done for that position, or maybe signing another shortstop, or talk to them about their positions?
No, we haven't had those conversations because again, I think the conversations with I think in general with from a position standpoint, and I think it's when we, at least the position we're looking at is, when you get to a spot where, hey, this is going to happen, or this is something that we feel really strong could happen, I think that's when we looked at it like, hey, we're going to have that conversation. We never got to get to that point in the last few days.
How much of your interest in someone like Trea had to do with you were in on first baseman with Houston? How much of your interest there had to do with him going there and the first base market maybe not being really a blend of options?
Not really. I mean, I think we started out the off season, and hey, these are, we know you're going to have a few different possibilities, and I think like I mentioned, I think we talked to Jose Abreu and talking to Trea as well. It wasn't like a reaction to hey, Jose signed here, so it didn't. I think we were going down both paths at the same time, both conversations at the same time. One didn't really lead to us shifting gears and turning more attention to Trea Turner. Didn't go down that way for us.
But you wouldn't have been able to do both, right?
I mean, again, like I think those are we've got a sense working with Peter, and you've got a sense in terms of like, hey, this is the budget, this is what we're looking to do. I think again in the organization we always kind of talk about, hey, if there's a situation that presents itself, let's talk about it and and go down that path. So I think we never got to that point where we're talking about, hey, sign one, sign both, sign the other. But we know what we have from a budget standpoint. Understand that if there's an exception, there's always a conversation at least to be had to see if it makes sense for us or not.
Did you announce any official changes to your coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still kind of, again, like obviously with Michael leaving, Bedar, going to Detroit. I think we're looking at the hitting, coach position or positions, kind of team at this point in time, and we're, I think, going to use this next week or two to try to lock that up and get, and kind of have we have some. I think we've talked about Ryan Flaherty, Morgan Burkhart. They've been part of like the hitting conversation, the hitting responsibilities the last few years in different ways. Have a lot of faith in those guys, and then we'll also look at what else in our system, or some other players, some other coaches in our system, and some other coaches that are out there to kind of line up the staff. But nothing finalized yet on that front.